Jesus. And I was like, oh, fuck, dude. Jesus is Chinese. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Toast. Today I have with me yet again this amazing fucking star of the show. I mean, I think the first few times that you came on the podcast, we weren't swearing. I think I was kind of keeping it PG-13. I was like, no fucks allowed. And now I'm like, no fucks given.
Yeah, it was more like 9 years old, you know. If you're anything younger than that, you can't.
Yeah, for some reason I thought my audience was like, I don't know, people who are like, oh, they can't hear the word fuck. And then at some point I was like teaching lessons and I started saying like shit and bitch and stuff in my lessons. And I'm like, nah, you know what? They're humans. They hear
Find
these
this
words.
Dude.
If you need lessons.
Yes,
hire
please.
me now. Okay, so yet again, I'm super happy to have you here. I want to talk about China. And like, first of all, we have cool systems right now because I'm not the guy who's changing the camera angles. We have crew for that today, which is
There we
great.
go.
We have we have over here. I don't know if you guys can see this, but that's us jumping in Chicago on our way to China. So we have screen shares going on. We have some high tech stuff. So.
I think we took that picture literally before we got hammered by that deep fried pizza, right? Because
we
wouldn't be like jumping like this. We would have ate that pizza.
That pizza was like the next picture. Maybe not the next picture, but it's there, man. That Chicago deep dish pizza. That was heavy.
I'm so happy and so grateful I ate that, but it's also a personal like shame just because I have never ate a medium-sized pizza and be so hammered by it. Like we had problems finishing it.
I remember that because the guy was looking at us. He's like, "Oh, for you two, like medium."
Yeah.
And then like both of us look at him. It's just like, bruh.
Yeah.
Like, are you sure? Like,
I felt disrespected a bit at first.
he's like, it's a pie. It's this thick. All right, we'll take your word for it. But like,
yes.
And then I remember we had a discussion, and you were like, worst case, like we're just gonna order another pizza, right?
That's what I meant.
Like, true.
Never
true
happened.
story.
Never happened.
Never happened. It's true. We're like 2 pieces in. We're like.
Yeah, can't do this no more. But it was one of the best pizzas I ever had. One of the best pizza.
So speaking about Chicago, going to China was like a big journey, right? And I like, you know, the best part for me was just not just this layover and like, hey, Jordan's taking you for a ride. Like we could go downtown Chicago. We have like 4 hours. We could totally go downtown Chicago in 4 hours. But just how we booked China, how I booked China, right? The fact that you came to me and you're like, yo, bro, like I've never booked a flight before. Like, can you just hook me up? Like, can you help me get good prices? And I was like, yeah, dude, for sure. Just like come over and you know, we're in my parents' basement and I find like solid deal. Like Montreal to Beijing, $700 return.
You might actually took it as a joke when I first said it, but I genuinely needed help. Like I think that was also the first time I traveled my airplane without supervision of my parents.
All right.
Yeah.
And what I really love about that moment was obviously me being like, dude, $700, I'm down.
Yeah.
In.
On the spot.
In.
I had no idea that it was going to come to that point that night.
Me neither. I had to go to work the next day and be like, Dad, I'm going to China.
I want to pay money to see his face, his reaction.
It was good. At least I was working for my dad. Anyways, talking about China, the reason I wanted to talk about it is because man, last time we were chilling, like I got so like worked up, like not angry, but like I was like, I was on fire. I was like talking about China, and I couldn't stop talking about it, and because of how awesome of an experience it was. And so I want you to just kind of like run through like just the first little bit, you know, just like how like getting there, like getting welcomed, like what was it like, you know, and what was it like for you is the main thing. It's like, you know, you were raised in China and then you came to Montreal and then I don't think you had gone back until that time, right? April 2015.
Yeah, that was the first time. The first time. So
what was it like?
For sure, I was a little bit stressed, you know, going home. So the definition of the home has slightly changed, right, over the years. So, you know, I spent equal amount of time in Canada. Now that I'm about to step into my own soil once again. So I was a little bit nervous. And I'm super down. I was ready to eat all the food I see and all this, you know, whatever the experience is about to come to me. But maybe I had a little sense of relief when you actually said that, you know what, Nai, let's go together. And I was like, cool. Like, this is actually my savior to say, let's do this. And it was just, everything just come in line.
Yeah. Cool. And so, like, did you have any like fears or any like issues or like for me, I'm saying this because I'm going on a trip soon, and this is kind of like one of the only times aside from China where I'm like genuinely unsure what to expect. I'm going to like a completely different culture this time, which is the same thing for China. Like going to Korea after China, it was like, I've already seen something similar, This time I'm going to the Middle East and I'm scared and there's COVID and whatever. But with China too, it was like, I'm going to be this white guy.
That is true. That is true.
So did you have any like fears or issues or things that like, I don't know?
Well, the first time when I went back with you, I didn't have my tattoo yet. So that didn't really play in my head. I was more scared, when I was taking subway, taking buses, because of my size, was literally twice of a normal Asian man. So I was more feeling discomfort for the others rather than for myself. And for sure, going home is going to be a little bit different than your experience because you're literally going to unknown soil, right? You've never been to Asia before. So it's just, can't really say that I can relate to you in any sense. Plus, I spoke the language. So it's got to be different. So I'm equally excited for you as well.
Yeah.
But going to China was more like feeling going home. Just didn't want to do the journey alone. You were there.
Yeah. And so like, why did we go back? What was like the reason? And did you have any like issues with me? Like thinking of like, oh, this guy is just coming to China. Like, for context, to the viewers, is we met in a Chinese restaurant. We worked in a Chinese restaurant together, and we became solid friends from that experience. Because like he didn't know, you didn't know. I'm
idea.
Chinese.
Yeah.
Right? Like, at that point, like 24, 23-year-old Jordan, like, that guy was Chinese. Like he was the definition.
Well, that was the first question. Like I had the interview with Priscilla, and then I walk in the store, and you were literally the first human I spot. I said, this is a pure Chinese Cantonese restaurant. What is he doing here? And why is he standing at the place that I'm supposed to be standing? And then I realized, okay, well, just light skin. It's actually Chinese.
They didn't tell you that I was an egg.
No.
White on the outside and yellow on the inside.
Exactly. Exactly.
By the way, you were talking about like the size thing. I just like we need to whip out this picture.
No, but that's exactly what I meant. That's exactly what I meant. Like that face is not just for a show. Like I didn't feel too good.
That was
didn't box her out a little
bit. Got that solid 2014 camera quality going on too. It's like, oh man. Dude, okay, so I want to talk about like the craziest thing in China for me, which aside from the story that we talked about last time, which was like an amazing story, I think that's still like top 2 of my life. I don't know what the other one is, but it's top 2. If there's the top 2 stories, it's like one's with Vince and one's with you, and you both know which of those stories they are. And I think we've podcasted about both, so they're good, for anybody who wants to listen to them. But going to China was just like so awesome for me, especially just like that first day in that, like, or the first night in the restaurant. So your aunt just like welcomes us, picks us up at the airport, and we go to this place, or she doesn't pick us up, but like she met us there, and then we took the bus together. And then we go to this like restaurant at like 1 a.m. Yeah, it's just like ungodly amount. Like we could just go to sleep, but it was like no, we're going to eat. Of course, welcome to China, and we go to like this Sichuan restaurant, and I was like, all right, cool. And suddenly there's like this hot soup, and she's ordering all these amazing things, and I'm just like ecstatic. Like everything was just like drenched in oil, and it was so good. And then I just remember being like. Wow, there's a lot of fish here, like that's like the stereotype of Chinese restaurants in North America. I thought that was just like bullshit. That was just like things that we did to get like more people to be like, look at that fish. And then I was exactly there, like, look at that fish. And then your aunt goes and points at the fish and they bring it to the table like 5 minutes later. They're like, blah, like kill that living thing that was just like hanging out there. Anything you point at, we will order. And that was like the first wake up call. That was like, okay, like I can't point.
It's a little bit different now.
Yeah. Like I have like the Midas touch, the king who touches everything and it turns gold. like oh shit! Like if I touch something, if I like that thing, it's like yours. That thing, yours.
Yeah,
it's like, all right, fucking Great Wall. No,
Ask
million
and you
people.
shall be given. You had the blessing of the Lord.
Yeah,
But then actually it was pretty funny. That's actually a part of the tradition.
yeah,
The fact that, if let's say a friend or a relative is traveling to see someone or coming home, no matter how late and no matter where we pick you up, the first thing we do in Chinese language is called 接风. That literally means catching the wind. This as if you're traveling with the wind and I have to wash that off for you.
Oh.
So we have to eat.
You have to wash off the wind.
Yeah. So basically it's like the wind carry you here, but now you're home.
Mm-hmm.
So that wind can stay there, but you come with us.
Okay.
So it's like, doesn't matter where you come from. You could become, travel 50 hours.
Okay.
You reach home. Even if we don't go to a restaurant, even if at home, there's a meal waiting for you.
Okay.
And we would have to eat before anything. We eat, then we talk about how to experience this and that, then you can be more at home. But before that, we eat. We have to wash you. We have to cleanse you with this welcoming event.
I like that. I mean, I obviously had no idea about that until this very moment. So that's cool. In Italy, we do the same thing. We just don't take into account any cultural wind or anything. It's just like lasagna. Yeah. Like straight up, and a pepperoni and a bit of complaining. Like one of my favorite things of going to China, especially with you, aside from eating this beautiful spicy fish soup.
Oh, you took a picture of that? Sick.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
It was like meal one continued is the beautiful caption, which is just like all of these things that you could just kind of point at, and
and we shall eat.
They'll summon it. We're like three people, and your aunt is like this, average Chinese woman.
I don't even think she ate anything.
She had like a single pepper. Yeah. She had like this little piece right there. It was amazing, and that was just like even just like this, like breakfast in the morning, just kind of making things out of nothing, and it seems like nothing to me, and that was one of the things is that I thought I knew Chinese culture. I was convinced. I'm like, I spent so much time with Chinese people. I've been doing this karaoke. We're like staying out like completely illegal in Canada, like until like 6 a.m, drinking, smoking indoors. We're like breaking multiple laws. And essentially I was like, that's Chinese culture. And then like they would always order a lot of food. And not that that's like the all-encompassing Chinese culture, but it was like this is like a big part of it. And so I was expecting to do a lot of that in China. But then what ended up like just hitting me like a freight train was just like everything was just so different from how I imagined it. Like in a way, I imagined like, I don't know, dirty streets. And not that there's no dirty streets, but like it was pretty clean. Like at least like getting to Beijing, it was pretty clean. And even in like Changchun and Shenyang, I was like
the air.
Yeah,
that was the image, right? I was expecting going home I might need a mask. I mean, now everybody's wearing masks.
Yeah, everyone's got
back in the day, I thought we actually need masks because I was so proud of our air. But when I get down there, no, it was fine.
Yeah. And so like that was kind of like a wake up call of like propaganda. Like, okay, everything that they've been feeding us about China is wrong. Like, and not just that General Tao is not Chinese. It's like nothing that you told us about China
and
is
pâté
Chinese.
chinois is not from China.
And pâté chinois is not from China. And yet, like they broke down those barriers without trying. It's not like they're like, oh, by the way, we should educate you on the Chinese culture. The Han Dynasty, the Qing Dynasty. Like, no, it wasn't about that. It was just like immediately it was obvious that everything I thought was Chinese, aside from karaoke, was like false. And it just like hit that barrier. And so it was so cool for me to experience that, especially, I every time I talk about China, I'm like, I had it easy, like that first time we walked into a train station.
Yeah.
Like,
the amount of people.
No, but it wasn't just the amount. First of all, the amount of people was like one thing. I think I took a picture of that too. I'll pull that one up in a second. But not just the amount of people, but the fact that I got like you guys to help me buy the train tickets. Like, you know how hard that would have been? even like Romanization of Chinese.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't know how to read a Q as a T. I wouldn't even be able to say the place name that I'm trying to go to. And much less like when or where or like all of these things. Like they'd tell me like platform 4. Like the fuck is like.
And honestly, they have no time for you. They there's just too many people to process. There's so many things to do.
There's a literal 100,000 people behind me
and
waiting for this one spot.
And there's no line.
Yeah.
There's no line. Everybody just surrounds you.
Yeah.
That's one thing it really hits me too, you know. Think about it. I actually really appreciate, you know, that there's still a little bit of a civism, you know, when we take public transit in Canada. The first thing that hit me when I go to China is nobody's making the line.
Yeah. Okay.
Because the efficiency and the, you know, the emergency is just too much. I remember when I first got off the plane, I was, you know, as a law-abiding citizen, I was lining myself for the information. And right before I can get to talk to the lady, and I was stopped by the guy. And the guy literally just cut in front of me and started talking to her as if I didn't exist. And has, you know, everybody has a little bit of temper. I got a little bit agitated. I said, "Hey, what are you doing? The fuck are you doing?" It's just, you know, it's a question I need to answer. And then what surprised me is that he turned around and looked at me as equally angry as I am. And he said, "If you were in a rush too, how did I cut you?" You know, that just sent me into the deepest thinking ever. And, you know, he was genuinely angry at me. He said, "And yet you dare to stop me. What am I doing? And we're both still wasting time on this." So that just gave me a wake up call. It's like, wow, people here, they don't mess around.
Yeah. It's interesting because like it's like a whole new level of individualism, right?
Yeah.
Even though we're taught so much about like the collectivism, it's communism.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the individuality is that much stronger in that, where it's like I expect so much of people in North America because like I'm a human and you must treat me like a human, and yet in China and a lot of other places, it's obviously not just in China. It's just the fact that like you're a human means that you're just as useless as the rest of us.
Yeah.
And so if you want to get something done, you got to, you know, grab the bull by the horns, and not the bull in, you know, the Wall Street of Shanghai, but but grab, like you want something, like
you got to do it.
Yeah, you don't just line up.
And knowing for the fact that there's many people around you want to achieve the same thing, and you literally just have to fight for it.
Yeah. And it's the scarcity of like resources. It is though. It's like, what if that person who cut you off got the last ticket to where you wanted to go?
That would be the question I would be asking myself, right?
Exactly. And I love that because, well, I wouldn't love missing the, you know, getting
the last tickets.
It's like, I would love to get that last ticket. Like if I'm that guy, I love it.
Yeah.
But the fact that you could just be like, look, like, hey man, I'm not here to fucking play nice. Like I don't give a shit about you. And like we lie in North America. We lie to everybody. We tell you like you matter.
Yeah.
Vous.
Yeah. It's true.
You know, like we just like we use this formality. We're just so nice. And not that there's no formality in China. I think that, you know, there's different things like such as in Korea where you're, you know, you must pour drinks or give things with two hands, right?
Yeah.
There is certain formalities and there are ways of showing respect. But when it comes down to being like human and getting things done, it's just like, this is the thing.
Yeah.
And you told me something really beautiful the other day about the tea.
Oh, yes. Yes.
What is that? Like
it's a form of communicating without, you know, really breaking this tranquility of this meeting. So let's say if you and I were business partners and I'm about to negotiate for a price or for a act of business, and if I in my heart already make the decision that I will not pursue this partnership while feeling your tea, I will feel it to the max until the teacup cannot hold anymore.
Okay.
And you, as a receiver, would understand that message. And you would pour a little bit of the tea on the table, saying that you understood. And then you take a tiny sip and put it back and leave the table. That would tell you that I understand what you mean, and this is where it stops.
That's wild.
Yeah, that's kind of wild. Without a single exchange of words.
It's beautiful because, like, imagine somebody does that to me. Like, I'm going to be like, thanks. Right?
It's just been too much. Sorry.
It's just a little, like, I don't know how to drink this. I'm like taking it like with two hands, trying not to spill it. But it's cool because, like, you know, the symbolism of that is like, well, you pour some out on the table, so you leave the deal.
Yeah.
You leave the tea on the table.
Exactly.
Right? And so it kind of like, it all like works together in such a beautiful poetic way, even in English, like leave the deal on the table. And then just understanding that without even like verbalizing it.
Exactly.
Is just like,
for them, there's no need to get rude. Nobody's yelling. Nobody's moving.
Yeah.
Sure. The deal was on the table. Took a sip. I understood. That's it. And I found I was just so efficient at the same time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But you do have to understand, like, when it comes to it.
Yeah. And I find like those types of cultural differences that are like that happen around the table are so interesting, because we're always taught, China, like, you need to drink with the Chinese people if you're doing business with them. Like, it's
yes,
like, for some reason, like, that's just like common knowledge, right? It's like, if you go to China for a business trip, like, you're getting drunk.
Yes,
like,
absolutely.
Not drunk, like, you're getting fucked.
Like
you're getting
hammered. Like, no, yeah.
Fucking smashed, because they're like like this guy, and it's funny because this dates back to like old Islamic like traditions, okay, which is hilarious, because of course now Islam is very different, but they had to make the same decision. They had to think that this decision, whatever it was, business or romantic, whatever this decision is, if it was really important, they would have to make that decision sober, and they'd have to get drunk and still think that it's a good decision while drunk.
Oh, wow.
So
okay.
If one of those did not agree, which would basically be the drunk guy being like, you know what I fucking think? Like,
I can so imagine that.
and it's interesting because, like, in a way, that's how we've been presented. The business deal in China is without the tea, example, but just like, okay, well, I'm gonna go to business. I'm gonna go to business, and then I don't know, we're gonna have food, and at some point, like, this guy's just gonna keep refilling my shot glass or or whatever it is that we're drinking, and then at some point I'm gonna be drunk.
Yeah.
And then he's gonna start asking the questions.
Yeah.
Like, but I need to be mentally prepared for that going in, right? Like, if I just think like, it's like a business dinner, and it's like, no, dude, like, the dinner is just fucking dinner. Like, here, eat this duck,
Start with that. Well, there's a proverb in Chinese. It's literally, if I were to translate that, it was 酒后吐真言. It means a drunk man tells the truth.
And yeah,
it's true. Like, we would relate to the example you just gave me, Islam. It's like, after you get drunk, you should be agreeing with what you said before.
Yeah.
If you're truthful.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think we have an English expression for that. It fucking escapes me right now, but whatever. It's like a drunk man tells no lie, or something. A drunk heart always tells the truth, something like that. But yeah, it's just like you think of like the dinner as being the business part in North America. We're like, all right, we're having dinner, we're gonna have this conversation, and we're gonna part ways. But it's like in China, it's like, no, the dinner is just like the duck. Yeah. And then after that's when we're like, the business is actually happening. When we're like singing karaoke, or we're like telling this person to sing something.
Yeah.
Chinese people love giving me like Avril Lavigne for some reason. And I always just turn to them and was like, why do you always have to make things so complicated?
I mean, no part of that, by the way. We never sang that together, actually.
Oh, man. China, dude. Did you see this picture that I pulled up of the Great Wall? Like, every time I look at it, I'm just like, fuck, man. Like, I remember it being packed, but like, shit. We had to line up and take like steps with the crowd. Oops. Oh, that was breakfast. But we had to like take steps with the crowd. Was just like that amazing thing. And I just remember like being there, and you're like, it was like the ultimate lineup. This is like the only time Chinese people line up
just because there's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to go.
It's like, it's either this line or like the Mongols, right?
Yeah, literally. And you have to choose your side very carefully. I mean, I was 250 pounds, and I just finished my last year of playing football, and I have never felt this powerless on the Great Wall of China. I could not move. My muscle, my strength, everything I was proud of meant nothing to me, because I just literally no space. I was a human penguin for the whole duration. And even the wind, and I felt that the wind was gonna blow me off too. That day was extremely windy. Oh, that picture, I love it.
And I love it because it's like, in this picture we have like that moment of happiness, and it's like the shirt's just like, it's a nice life.
Yeah, I mean, that's also literally the only moment that I was actually can move. There was no people around me,
Dude,
for a single second.
We almost had to line up for that position. But
Yeah.
luckily we like, shouldered our way and we're like, get the fuck out of here. Like,
I was doing the lead block. Here we come.
That was where the football training came in. Okay. I just want to like talk about, overall vibes and like times in China, because man, for me, it was just like such an eye-opening experience. Like somebody asks me, like, what was the moment that like changed your life? What was the moment that like triggered it all?
Mm-hmm.
And for me, a lot of it, and like, I'm not even like bullshitting for the sake of the podcast.
Like, we'll know.
A lot of it is like, it always leads back to China. I'm like, if I hadn't pushed back and hit that 2-person for that flight, then I would never have gone to China. I probably like I wouldn't be working where I worked, at 25, but I wouldn't have hit that like that first little flick of snow at the top of the mountain that then became like this motherfucking avalanche like a few kilometers down. And it was just like so incredible, because like I can't really associate it to anything in particular in China, but it's the polarity of what I experienced. And a lot of it for me was because every time I'm talking about China, there's this mixture of like, it was wild and I can't describe it. Yeah. And there were just like so many people and so many things that I can't describe. Like I called them the forests. Like when we were on the train, and then you just like see a town in the distance. It would be like barren, like as flat as this table. And then in the distance, you see the town. And it was like, it stuck out like this glass. Yeah. And it was nothing around it. And it was just all skyscrapers. And it's like somebody just went crazy on that like Control V key. They were like, fucking like, paste, motherfucker. Like it was like paste that building, and it was sick.
Nobody was like, what, a 3-hour or 4-hour train ride? Yeah. And the entire time, I think that's all we would talk about. Like how crane and skyscrapers.
And they don't fuck around.
No.
It's not like one crane.
No. It was crane everywhere, everywhere.
But then, and to go back to like why China was so pivotal for me, was because it also led to me noticing that like 1 million people is like nothing. Right? Like when I went to the calmest, most tranquil place that if I tell Chinese people about this place, they don't even know it exists. Yeah. Right? And going to that place was just like so spectacular, because I was obviously the only person who spoke English. I was speaking through what, wasn't Google Translate, because it didn't exist. Google was banned. I had a Google phone, so I was completely shit out of it. and yet there was nobody. And that was a place of 1 million people. It's like if you go to Ottawa or you go to Calgary or whatever the fuck place in Canada that has 1 million people, like there's people. Yeah. There's a lot of people. Yeah. Ottawa and Calgary, like it's bustling. Yeah. And yet in China, there's nobody. It's like they disappeared, and somehow that was 1 million. Yeah. And yet those tranquil moments were like the redemption, and yet also kind of like the fear of like, wait, like China's not just black and white, right? Yeah. It's not just like polluted air and fucking duck and karaoke. It's obviously, and I knew that, but it's the moment where it actually clicks. Like one of these great moments. I was walking around this place, the same place. It's called Jilin City. Yeah. Jilin City, not Jilin Province, which is the capital of the province. Yeah. Jilin City, and inside this city, there's this Gothic church. And so Gothic church is like, like Spanish architecture. Yeah. So for me, I was like, what the fuck? First of all, a church. Second of all, in like European, like I don't know, like 16th century style. I was like, and it was black. And usually like they're, I don't know, like brown in Spain. And
Jilin wasn't even a big city.
Exactly. And it was so it was completely random for me to see it. And then obviously like I just walk up to the church, because this is what I did in Europe. You're traveling in Europe, you kind of just like, you see a church, you're like, oh, let's go see what's inside. And then it's like, hey, look, Jesus. And then and so that's what I did. And I went inside, and I was like, hey, look, Jesus. And I was like, oh fuck, dude, Jesus is Chinese. And that like moment, like, dude, you see like the last supper, and it's just like Jesus, like straight Chinese Jesus, which is just like completely like everybody's heard of Black Jesus, but have you heard of Chinese Jesus? Like, fuck no, man.
Yeah, no.
Black Jesus is a thing. Black Jesus is a real Jesus. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
But Chinese Jesus, like, nah, bro.
Nobody.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's like that's just as far fetched as white Jesus. Now this Chinese Jesus with like 12 motherfucking Chinese people.
I can't believe that. When you told me that, I wasn't accepting it. I was accepting it because growing up as not a Catholic, I was growing up as a Christian, and once I came to Canada, I was just like, "There's no way."
Yeah.
But it was true.
Yeah. So, did you have any like wake up calls? Did you have any like moments in China where like I don't know, you like lost faith or just like I don't know, it shocked you? It was like a culture shock for the Chinese man.
Well, my experience early on, as I shared, with that person at airport was literally my first wake up call to shows that, like in China, this is literally a different mentality about efficiency. Just because I can really, because me and him were ready to square up, and I was insanely mad at him because I found him disrespectful and he was super rude, and in his eyes, I was nothing less. I was equally disrespectful. I was being childish, and I ruined his day, and I ruined his. That certain action he wanted to do, and he just find it not acceptable. No, but that one was really a wake up call, like a shocking experience for me. That whoa, okay, so people hear things differently, and it affects their actions, and they justify their actions as well.
Yeah,
that was really like I really have to sit down, like, because that action shook me to the core, and it's like because I was expecting apology. That's not what I got. And as I said, as I repeat myself, that sentence was really, he said, if you were truly in a hurry, how did I manage to get in front of you? And that set me to thinking like that was really truly my wake up call. I couldn't understand. And then I realized, wow, okay. Well, he was really more in a hurry than me. That's it.
Yeah.
He was.
And did that change your perspective of anything, like in terms of, okay, so I'm sorry if I'm like beating a dead horse on this.
No, that's fine.
Essentially, I'm not looking for you to just say like, yeah, this was like a ground like breaking experience, but because the way that I perceive that is that like for sure, like that's like something that like it sticks with you because it's not like you think about it every day, right? But like every once in a while, you're gonna be in a situation where you can like cut someone off.
Yeah.
And
no, but I mean,
like, this motherfucker's not in a rush.
For sure. No, but I mean, it's also it shows in the workplace. It shows in the workplace is that when I come back to Canada, as I start working, and then I realize we are truly not working now with the same urgency nor the efficiency that those, like, we're just not clear about our role. We're simply just here for the paycheck, and we're wasting our time on our potential and our talents. Like, my cousin always used to say this to me. He said, I can't believe how good you guys have it. And after spending 10 years, 15 years plus in Canada, that word has lost its meaning to me. But that man with that action truly like woke me up. He said, yes, you've been wasting your time. You should be like perform and do your business in a way that efficiency and it cuts to the goal right away and bring you a profit. And just in business dealing, there's so many things that I can just speed it up. And also, he didn't feel sorry for me, not at all.
Of course,
he was mad at me, and so
he wasted even more of his time.
Yeah, exactly. That's literally what he said. And he said, yeah. I mean, the second argument, he said, are you still playing? Are you still being childish right now? Like, really? Because I was holding his collar because I was really mad at him. And he was holding my collar. He said, you still want to entertain this. So you were truly trying to waste your time. So, I mean, that really changed a little bit the way how I perform when I come back to Canada. Just very, very, I mean, I get it, in front of a camera, man, that sounds that good. But profit related. That's what I'm here for. I'm here for generate a profit, and I have to settle down a business. I have to make revenues, and that's what I'm here for.
Yeah.
Not to feel sorry or not to be friends with everybody around in the workplace. No, this is my job.
Wow.
I have to generate.
Yeah.
I have to perform.
I like that. And do you think that like your cousin saying like how good you have it has to do maybe a little bit with that type of mentality? Like with the fact that like not just like, hey, you guys have it good, but like maybe you guys don't need to fight.
Yeah, I think that's what he meant like saying that from what I told him about my work, about my life experience in Canada, one thing he pointed out right away, the competition. Yeah. I mean, right now I am applying for a new position. Probably there's maybe 5 candidates of all Montreal apply for the same position.
Yeah.
In China, you would have 1,000 more.
Yeah.
I think that's exactly what he meant. He couldn't believe that entering the bank at 22 years old, I could do the same job for the same 3 years. For him, that's a dead end. You need to get out. Mm-hmm. But for me, I'm just like, I'm having it pretty good here. And he just couldn't understand that. Then he keeps saying that, wow, you guys really had it good. But what he meant is the density of the competition was just almost none.
Yeah. So like you can afford to make a mistake.
Exactly.
And not like financially. I mean, financially too, let's say. Yeah. But like you can afford to make a mistake in the interview. Like, I don't know. Like, you can have a little nip slip or something.
Yeah.
Like whatever can happen. Like you could say like the wrong thing or be like, oh, sorry. Like, whatever it is. And yet still kind of get the job because maybe the other 4, I don't know, didn't have your charm or didn't have something or, whatever. Whereas like them, they can't afford to make a mistake. Like I saw this fucking crazy like application for art school, art university in China. And it's just like, it's not like a gym filled with people. Like that's what it looks like in Canada, right? You're applying for university. It's a gym full of people. And they're writing this test. It's like the entrance exam or whatever, or exit exam, whatever side of it you're on. And in China, it's like, nah, dude, it's like a fucking city filled with people.
Yeah,
like doing this. And like there's a city for the what's the name of the Chinese test when like to go to university?
It's just a university entrance exam.
Yeah, so that
Gaokao.
Yeah, so that thing is like huge, right? It's
one of the biggest and most important events.
Yeah, and like they close. Like, it's like a holiday, right? They like urge people not to use their cars. I think you're not even allowed to drive on that day. People like they like put all of the bus services to bring students. They're not allowed to like honk horns and things like that. It's like a massive event in China and in Korea too. Like my students, my teenage students, were always like they're already preparing for it. I'm like, bro, like you're writing that exam in 4 years.
Yeah. They're
like, yeah, but like. Englishy, and I was like, fucking yeah, Englishy, man, like drop the E.
Yeah.
Like shit. But so for me, it's like this Gaokao for that university entrance exam. There's a whole city. There's like a super famous Chinese city known for having absolutely nothing except a school that prepares these kids for that exam.
Yeah.
Like they're not like at some point they opened like a casino or something and they like closed it because they're like, no, we're not allowed to have that. They opened an internet cafe and they said, no, that's distracting the students. The main driver of this city is the fact that the students have no other option or distraction
other than
studying. And therefore, how could they afford to make a mistake? They don't even have the opportunity to create a mistake.
Yeah. Oh, as long as they stay focused, that's for sure. As long as they stay focused.
I know, but I'm just kind of using this to like wrap around like that idea of like fuck, man, like in Canada, like
nah,
dude, how, like I went to that university entrance exam. I was fucking hungover. Probably smoked a joint right before. Like I didn't give a shit.
Yeah,
I was like, I'm gonna get in, and even if I can't get in, like I'm not trying to get into Harvard. It doesn't change anything for me. Like if I get a paper that says my name on it. Whether it's from a first tier, second tier, third tier, fucking 13th tier university, I don't care. But in China, that's like a huge thing. It's like if you get into like a third tier university, like fuck it, you don't even go. Like you wait a year, you write the Gaokao again.
Yeah. No. There's no option. Like that's your like that moment literally defines your future, if you're in the general population, of course. But you know what? This brings me back when I first got a job at a bank and I was ready for the next promotion. And to do so, I need to acquire my mutual fund license. And I remember when I was talking about this with my boss, this is word by word he said, yeah, Naifu, so to get a mutual fund license, you have 3 tries. So you really need to take this seriously. But I mean,
it's like, fuck it, dude, right off the first try, just go the first time just to see what the exam's like and study from there. That's what I would do.
No, but at that time when he told me that, I I do Tokyo seriously.
Yeah.
But now it just falls so far in comparison about what we just said. Like, you don't get 3 tries.
Yeah. 3 tries to the Gaokao is 3 years. Like at some point, the kid's like fucking 20 years old. He's writing a high school exam. Like
it's I think like sometimes I question myself. The meaning in that sentence when my big cousin keep reminding me or repeating of that sentence, saying that you guys really have it good there. I feel like maybe there's a little bit a hint of sadness in it, just saying that you guys actually truly got to live with mistakes, and it's okay. And I just feel like the way how he speak, the way how he his contact, the way how he deal with people was just, I wouldn't say perfect, but it was almost perfect. Like he doesn't leave any room of having a mistake in it, just because he's been acting like that in work and he's been acting like that in life. So he act like that with us. Yeah. Same thing as when he played that video game, beating everybody. Holy shit! He made no mistake.
He's a doctor, right?
Yeah, he's a doctor.
Like, dude, I don't think I've ever met a doctor that can whoop like every single fucking person's ass at Street Fighter or any video game for that matter. Like the doctor's got he has to save lives.
I was like, don't you have better shit to do?
Yeah, he has like vaccines to give or some shit, like motherfuckers like playing Street Fighter. He put like a quarter in. He put a quarter in,
and we stayed there all night.
I went there with like $20. I finished my $20 before he was done with his quarter because everyone just kept challenging him and he never lost. And like every time I finished, I'm like, yo, I played every single game in this arcade and I lost at all of them. He's like, fuck, bro.
I hear people yelling from the other side, like, fuck, I lose again.
He caught an audience. I mean, he has more watchers than this podcast.
Yeah. Let's reverse that real quick.
You have to ask yourself, what would Chinese Jesus do?
Oh my God.
It's not a really great picture because of the quality, but I guess not all of them were Chinese, but Jesus is definitely... I tagged Mark. That's amazing. Oh, man. Anyways, okay. I just want to like bring it back to like the serious topic, which is fuck China, dude. Like, overall, it's just like such an eye-opening video cut. Fuck you. Okay. Well, you know what? At this 40-minute mark, I think we should go. We should continue because now we just got Vince to restart this video for us. Overall, like thoughts of China, and I know that you were saying that like the time that you went back. So I think you went back in 2017 or 18 or something.
2018, yeah.
Yeah. What was it like with the tattoo?
Well, around me, it was definitely less crowded than before. There was there was a silent agreement. Let's say 5 meters radius around me. There was children was not allowed. The parents was very on point on that, but I think it did help me. Like my dark skin and also my size didn't help. And according to everybody, when I walk as a stranger, my face is actually quite a little bit intimidating, which I never understood why. But
resting bitch face.
But that was the first thing I noticed is that I was less surrounded. Like people was not really. They were avoiding a little bit of contact with me, especially when I showing my arm. Mm-hmm. But for younger people like our age, they were very, very, they were almost jealous. They're just very happy. They asked me, they said, oh, so you actually do work in the bank and you have a tattoo? Is that real? And I said, yes. And I have to strap my arms. It's still here. Don't worry. And they're just so happy about it. They say, you're able to have tattoo and work at a bank. For them, this is luxury. Yeah. That's really a shocker to me as well. But the overall experience China brought me is I'm just more grateful now. Much more grateful. I know, how environment can shape a man's soul. Yeah. And I think not only until today, I really truly got a meaning what my cousin said to us, you have it good there, so enjoy it. We get to be us. We get to be, not just always worrying about the money, always about our next meal, or about how to get a promotion. We truly get to live and make mistake that we can rejoice for later. That's what I truly enjoy.
Cheers, man. fucking amen to that. So I think that's a great way to end it. So if you made it this far, that means you got value from this podcast, which means that you should hit the subscribe button. You know where the links are. If you want to get in touch with Shank. Okay, sorry, I'm mocking my brother. Please, share this with your grandparents and your ex-girlfriend's brother's ex-hamster's owner or some shit. Okay? See you in the next episode.